Hey guys, my name is Jamie and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Crimson Education. Today we're here on another episode of Crimson Ed Talks with a very special guest. We're welcoming today Anderson Tan. Anderson is a legendary academic. He scored a 44 out of 45 in the IB before completing not one but two different LSE degrees with flying colours. More than that, he's built up an amazing roster of experiences with competitions, extracurriculars, podcasts, and we're so lucky to have him at Crimson guiding the next generation of ambitious students, navigating how they can build the strongest applications on the planet. Anderson, it's great to have you on here.
Thanks for having me, Jamie. Excited to be here.
I want to get started with a nitty-gritty question that's so important to many of our ambitious listeners, which is the impact of making small strategic shifts to your college application. Sometimes students come in and they think there's this whiz-bang way they have to change their entire application, but that's not always the case. What's your take?
So, looking at our past data on college applications, what we really see is that some really small changes can be all you need in order for there to be a really huge difference, because so many of these applications that we're seeing are really at the margins, right? We find that students, no matter where they're coming from, can be really competitive. But when we have lots and lots of competitive students, then standing out just a little bit to that admissions committee by making your application just that little bit more unique, or by tweaking the focus just a little bit on your personal statement, can make a really big difference to how it's perceived.
Now, to make this more concrete, can you give me some examples of what these impactful small changes could be?
One of the biggest tips that we really focus on when we look at colleges, right? We often say to students, you need to research what this university has to offer. But one of the reasons why you need to do research also is that different universities have different things that they emphasize and different things that they are looking for in their students. So if you can effectively tailor your application, like if a school is particularly focused on entrepreneurship, like say Wharton is, then you want to ensure that your involvement in that area really stands out in the way that you're presenting it in your application, so that from the perspective of that university, you actually are perfectly suited for what they're looking for. So in other words, not just creating a one-size-fits-all app, but instead by customizing every little bit of the app that you can for each particular school that you're looking for, whether that's through your essays or your recommendation letters or through your activities and honors lists.
So to make this even more concrete, let's take an example of a particular program, Yale's Ethics, Politics, and Economics major, and let's say the student wants to apply for the first year program Directed Studies. The student's got an interest obviously in humanities, international affairs, ethics, all this stuff. What are some strategies you'd use, some of these quote-unquote small changes, to unlock big candidacy gains?
So ethics, politics, and economics. If we think about what the typical kind of student who gets into that course is, we think about students who are really engaged with their community. And so for that reason, one of the things that we really want to draw out in an application is how those students are engaging in their communities in really meaningful and impactful ways. So there are some kids who apply for courses like EPE who are very vague in the ways that they are, for example, creating projects that raise awareness. Whereas if we have students who are saying with meaningful statistics, numbers, data, all of the different ways that they're already contributing to their communities, say they raise $50,000, they create a project that gives 50 kids birth certificates who otherwise wouldn't have them. And that really shows that they're engaging on a deeper level than a student who is just, getting good grades, but applying to universities for the sake of it instead of really being committed.
Now, a lot of students have great strength in extracurriculars, but they really miss the mark when it comes to standardized testing or writing. How can you stand out if your academics are a bit lackluster?
I would say that one of the ways that you can make up for not being the strongest test taker or the strongest academic in your grades is through by making sure that your honor section of your application is as full as possible with some of the strongest honors that you can get. So if you're not really great at taking an exam in a 3-hour silent exam room, if your nerves get the better of you, then sure, you might not be the strongest in that particular school exam context. But essay competitions, for example, are a really great way for you to showcase that you are somebody who is really strong academically in a different context. When you are given weeks or months in order to prepare for something, and you can really refine it so it's as good as it possibly can be. And doing really well on one of these really impactful essay competitions, something like the John Locke Essay Competition, for example, tells a very strong story about who you are, especially if it is combined with something else like research.
Anderson, you mentioned John Locke, by the way, one of my favorites. Can you just walk us through what is that and how do you actually get involved in John Locke? How do we train our students for that?
All around the world, every year, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different competitions that are out there for students. However, there are some which are a lot more prestigious than others on the basis that so many more students are taking part in them and they're often being judged by some of the leading academics in the world. So let's take John Locke as an example of this, right? John Locke is an international essay competition that offers 6 different categories every year, plus a junior category, so that whether you're interested in politics or economics or philosophy, there is a question in the competition for you. Every year, around April or May, they release their questions, and you are given until the middle of June to write a killer 2,000-word essay that really breaks it down, that uses academic sources, that really showcases not just how strong of a writer you are, but how strong of a thinker you are. At Crimson, one of the things that we believe is that we should be building students' skills up from the very ground up. No matter what subject you're intending to study at university, and no matter what competition you're doing, there are some skills that will really, really help you to prepare no matter what. So what we do is that we focus on building students' confidence and building their skills in the essentials of creating a really great essay, not just for these essay competitions, but to maximize their grades at school as well. But then we pair that with a really intensive system of preparation. Because within our pool of mentors and strategists and team here at Crimson, we have people who have actually gone and won this competition many times in the past. We ask these people to help us come up with reviews for our students to really guide them on how they can write better essays. We ask some of these past winners to actually come in and share their insights on how these competitions were judged and give us their insider top tips on how they were themselves successful.
And the success you've had, by the way, is mind-blowing. More than 100 kids being a John Locke finalist is just crazy. So incredible to see that momentum.
Thank you, Jamie.